Talk about best intentions. This series was supposed to be a lot more frequent than it is. Welcome back to the Skill Builders Guild. Thanks again for watching. It's episode 2 of Wow, that's a weird RC. And on the last episode, I brought you this little guy, the KT8 from Thunder Tiger, now completely restored and now dirty again because I actually drove it. And let's cut to that footage right now. As you can see, it's an absolute blast. I actually did take this out to the drift track before I did any other filming because I wanted to see how it would perform there. Horribly, the foam tires are just not meant for any sort of low grip surface. Polished concrete, of course, not going to work. Even the concrete I was on in the most of that running footage, also not great. Although, I will say it is a great little performer. There is not much to it. It is very small, it is very light, and it has a very short wheelbase and track width, so it just rips around really, really fast. That little ripper 5500 kV brushless motor really does let loose on 2S, and it is so much fun. I'm really, really happy with this. I know you can get a replica of the KT8. I think it's available on AliExpress. It's very similar. I think they even have rubber tires for it. I would highly recommend picking one up, or at least getting you and a few of your buddies together and buying a few of these and having some spec racing with them because they are very fun. And I can't believe it's as old as it is. 2008. It's hard to believe, really. Now you'll notice, of course, I did finish it off in black. I repainted all of the panels, and then I added some decals to kind of make it feel like the K1 Speed electric go-karts that I was racing around in the leagues the last couple of months. It's a pretty good representation of what they look like. I had to make some compromises because it's not the same body panels, of course, but close enough for jazz, and I think ultimately I did it justice, and I'm really happy that I took the time to clean it up and restore it and make it a good functioning weird RC. I even made the driver all one color, and he looks pretty darn good in there again, back to his original gray. It did require a few coats of paint with the airbrush, but all seems to have held together pretty well. So there you go, that's the KT8 from Thunder Tiger. Pretty weird RC. And if you wanted weird, you're gonna get it on this show. You've all heard of Tamiya, and we know that Tamiya has done things the Tamiya way for many, many years. They bought 1 billion of the Tamiya connectors, so they knew they would never run out of them. And they're still using them to this very day, so many years into the future. What we've got next is something that honestly still feels like it could be from the future, despite it being from 2018. This is the T301 chassis, better known as the Dual Rider or Dancing Rider. Josh popularized these over on his channel. When I saw this, I was like, well, I gotta get one of these. This is so weird. And Not only does it look very weird, it functions very weird as well. I don't know that I'm going to do it justice, but I'm going to do my best to describe what Tamiya was thinking when they put this thing together. It's hilarious. It sort of looks a bit like a futuristic trike. It is a three-wheeler, as you can see, one front wheel, two rear wheels attached to a transmission and motor assembly. And that's about as normal as I could make it sound, because the rest of it is where it gets quite strange. Of course, there is a comical Japanese-inspired driver in there, and hopefully we can focus on that. There we go. I did all the paint work on that little guy myself. I like the yellow of the helmet with the teal of the body. I thought it all went well together. But he's got his hands on a steering wheel there, and he'll be doing nothing in there because there is no real steering. As a sort of a concept, this doesn't steer like normal. It has a steering servo, but it doesn't do that. It uses weight transfer to move the front wheel in the direction that you want to steer. So a servo turns basically the whole body and makes it lean. As you can see here, like this is at center, and then if you want to turn left, the whole body leans that direction. And then by the nature of that lean, the tire turns in that direction. You can see it work in action here. As you get over here, it flops over to the other side. And that's how it steers. There is no power to this. It's on a swivel. There's a little there's a spring in there to help kind of center it, and a bearing, but there's no other way to control steering other than the balance of the entire vehicle, which in itself is very weird. The assembly is pretty easy. I'll take this body off. It's just a Lexan body. It requires 4 pins to remove these sort of bumpers on the side, and once you get those off, you can pull the body off. Couldn't be less easy. There we go. And then your body comes off of the 2 posts to reveal everything underneath it. Its servo is mounted here underneath the driver, which connects to this big kind of arm, I guess, that kind of helps with stability. And it gets to a point where it can't go any further, and then it just rolls back to the other side and does the same thing. It's really very strange. And honestly, I wouldn't expect anything less from Tamiya, because this is so very much the core of how this whole company functions. Don't do what everybody else does. And if you do, don't do it the same way. That's the Tamiya way. It does have a little tiny 380 brushed motor, a transmission, and it is a differential-based transmission, so you do have some diff action in there as well. You do not need to glue the tires on because there is not enough power in this thing to make the tires come off. And if you've got any ESC and any servo, those are going to be good enough. It really doesn't need very much in order to function properly. It just requires a little bit of weight up top, so that's where the ESC and receiver sit, and the servo for that matter as well, to help with that balancing act and to get that weight over the center point in order to get it to turn left and right. They actually, in the kit, recommend 4 AA batteries to power the whole vehicle. I was like, well, we're not doing that. I forgot to mention, there is some suspension built in here as well. There's a spring in there that will rotate this whole transmission motor assembly around a pivot point. And it isn't a ton of suspension, but it is enough. Is there any up front? Yes, there is. There's 2 springs in the fork that will give you some suspension travel there as well. But again, it's really meant for smooth surfaces, so I wouldn't try to take this off-road. I think you'll be sadly disappointed. One other thing I forgot to show you, for access to the battery, there is a pin on one side and a post. Hey, doesn't this look like the Vanquish H10 optic post? Very similar. That whole assembly comes down. That's where you can put your battery in. If you had 4 AA batteries in a container case, that would fit in there perfectly. It will require a small LiPo if you're going to go the 2S route. But as you can see, they really did think of everything. Painting and detailing the body is pretty simple. They give you all the stickers, and they are really nice on their decals. They always are. But like any Tamiya kit, except for the most modern ones, you do have to trim out every single sticker yourself. So what looks to be an hour-long build is probably a couple of days. I'm not going to lie. It does take a long time to do one of these properly and to give it some character. So keep that in mind if you're going to try to find one of these to build yourself. And I would recommend that you do. Again, a lot like the KT8, these are hilarious to drive. They are so much fun. And when I share that running footage with you now, you'll get the idea of how much fun it really is, especially if you had some friends, which I don't. Okay, on to the running footage.
Coming 끝에 나에게 전화를 걸며 기다렸지 어색해도 표현을 할까 소심해도 open up to you 떨리는 내 맘을 전해볼까 너도 내게 다가와줘 기다리게 하지마 Baby just make up your mind
There are 2 different models of the Dancing or Dual Rider. They are the Dancing and Dual Rider. Slightly different body styles, exact same chassis, no differences there. There might be different driver options as well, but there's basically these 2 styles. I'll put a picture here of the Dancing Rider so you know the difference between the 2 of them, but you can pick these up on eBay for not much more than you would have paid if they were still available from Tamiya. I'm not sure if they are still technically available. We should really look it up on Tamiya USA. Dual Rider. Looks like you can still buy the Dancing Rider version. I don't see the Dual Rider version on this site anymore, but these are readily available, so if you've got a bunch of friends that are into weird RCs, this might be the one for you. All right, I think that's going to do it for this episode. If you've got ideas for a weird RC that you'd like me to profile on This Is a Weird RC, put a comment down below. You know I love reading through your feedback, and I try to answer as many of those comments as I can. And of course, if you're enjoying this video and you love weird RCs as much as I do, you're going to want to stick around. Hit the like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so you get updates anytime there's a new video from the Scaled Builders Guild. And of course, if you're a channel member, you get access to these videos before everybody else does. So you may want to consider that. I will put a link down below in the description. We've got a lot more weird RCs. Kyosho sent me a whole bunch of stuff, so be prepared. There's lots more to come. Thank you so much for watching. We'll see you again next time.